Democrats have finally realized that the issues at our southern border are a crisis. Immigration was a key talking point throughout the week, including in the first Democratic debates. Democrats are late to this party, and they are simply out of touch with Americans on immigration. I'm your host, Jared Dyson, and this is the Closet Conservative Podcast. President Trump began sounding the alarm on the border crisis long before it got to the recent levels we see on the news. He started talking about the border issues in his election campaign, stating that there was a need to build a wall to prevent illegal border crossings. The mere presence of a wall would encourage anyone seeking to come to the U.S. for asylum or anything else that they would enter the country through one of our border stations and be processed appropriately. Democrats pushed back, saying that anything dealing with the border was not important and that we certainly did not need a wall. Senator Bernie Sanders said in a video statement to Trump earlier in the year that the president should be focusing on real crises, that there were plenty of those to go around, and he should not be focused on creating a fake crisis. On March 13th, Senator Kamala Harris, a Democratic presidential candidate as well, said that Trump's declaration of a national emergency at the border was a manufactured crisis and simply playing politics with American dollars. CNN, MSNBC, and others talked about how the crisis was simply manufactured. Jim Acosta went to an area of the border and done some filming and showed how no one was lined up to get into that specific area of the border. Trump asked for money, but he was refused. He asked for the wall, but it has been refused. Fast forward to present day, and now Democrats are ready to admit that illegal immigration is an issue. But they won't refer to it as illegal immigration, but rather immigration. Chuck Schumer, Nancy Pelosi, and others have all taken to the public forum to call out the crisis and indicate where they place their blame. Of course, this is on President Trump. The Democrats vying for the 2020 party nomination have all made a point to blame the president for the lack of addressing the border issues. Trump has been blamed for the deaths of immigrants before they cross the border, deaths while they attempt to cross the border. He's been blamed for utilizing detention centers to aid in the processing of the claims of those seeking asylum. He has been blamed for separating kids from parents accused of placing kids in cages, and more. There's just one issue here. President Trump called out this problem months ago, and it was completely ignored by Democrats, yet he is still blamed for the issues. There are many things at stake here in this immigration battle. Democrats are fighting hard for their voter base. I wrote on the blog previously about how Democrats are usually the beneficiaries of immigrants. It has helped Democrats shift the number of representatives in specific areas due to the census. They want to appease this group by offering free open borders, free health care, and other free programs to continue to have this group vote Democrats for years to come. The problem is that these programs create government dependence rather than encouraging immigrants to assimilate and be productive in our country. Not to mention the major increased financial burden this creates on our system that is already going further into debt day after day. Democrats would like openness in our borders, which should be of concern. Just this week we learned how several linked to terrorist organizations were apprehended in attempting to get to the U.S. border. Without the appropriate protections, such as a wall and resources to maintain our border crossings, individuals like these will continue to work towards coming through our national borders. Simply opening the border to anyone is a risk we cannot take for our national security's sake. Democrats can continue to push this issue as a Trump issue, but the fact is Trump spoke out so long ago about the issue. Outspoken Democrats such as Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez, Ilhan Omar, and Rashida Tlaib have led the outcry at the detention centers and that the U.S. is using what they would call concentration camps. This just shows the anti-Semitism that is still present in the Democratic Party despite their denials. The Democrats are only concerned with how they can paint any picture to make Trump look bad, no matter how pathetic it makes them look. Read any World War II history. Knowing the conditions and the issues that they would face, there were no Jews that willingly lined up to enter into those concentration camps. These camps were prisons that people were forced into. No one was forced into the detention centers at our borders. They are here because they want to enter the U.S. They want to be processed. I would encourage anyone to go over to the U.S. Holocaust Memorial Museum. It has a great write-up about the history of concentration camps, and I would encourage you to read it. Democrats will continue to try to push the focus to Trump, but the focus should be on the fact that the Democrats have been the do-nothing party for years, and they continue to do so. They could have acted on these issues months ago, but refused. They are also quick to forget that in 2014, President Obama spoke about the border issues. He discussed how children must be processed and that his advice to anyone with children was not to come to the U.S. The Democrats would like to say that Trump doesn't care, that he's cold, and that Trump is ruthless. The only ones that are cold and ruthless are the do-nothing Democrats that have known about this for years. Now businesses are getting in on the action. First, AOC mentioned how 500 Wayfair employees that were making the mattresses for the detention centers walked out of the job. She celebrated their solidarity to the cause. On Friday, news broke about how Bank of America would no longer do business with anyone that runs a detention center. It's just another attempt by politicians pandering to special interest groups in an attempt to force their will on the American people. Polls have consistently shown that Americans are okay with immigration if it's legal. Americans believe that immigration can be a good thing, that it creates positive diversity, and most Americans support immigration in various circumstances. The polls have also shown that Americans support immigration when it is legal. In an obvious overreaction to their failures to act on immigration, Democrats continued to push for free health care for illegal immigrants, along with their free Medicare for all in the recent conversations and debates. Free health care for anyone that would come to the U.S. is bad policy, and we simply cannot afford it. If we're going to give everything away for free, why do we even have borders? Democrats are simply out of touch with mainstream America. Donald Trump is not a perfect guy by any means, but he has listened to the American people. He sounded the immigration alarm long ago that was ignored by Democrats at all levels. In an attempt to save face with the American people, Democrats have only one option: blame Trump. As Americans, we have to see through the fake front of the Democrats. People are willing to sacrifice everything to come to our country and be part. We have laws to make sure that we are protected and that we are able to process individuals appropriately at our borders. Democrats do not care about your safety. They do not care about your family's safety. They don't care about your job, and they're proving the fact that they do not care about your country. They are only concerned about power and socialism. It's a policy that, as Americans, we cannot support or afford.
This is the Closet Conservative Podcast. All material copyright The Closet Conservative. Music courtesy of Greg Shields Music. Remember to subscribe to our podcast to receive all the latest episodes. We can also be found online at closetconservative.net or on Facebook and Twitter.